you want to really see the impact is visible. For any layman, for any policymaker, or even for scientists, they can go and monitor. In the span of about 50 years, you can see the whole volume of such a large mass has been converted, and they have actually gone down. Only the glacial lake is left behind. So that clearly shows very clearly shows that the fresh water, which is in the form of cryospheric region, is actually depleting. This is also not new, which was shown by Dr. David Morton this morning. But what I would like to tell is that this is the most dominant area where we are actually seeing very much the glacier shrinkage. Means there are more evidence of shrinking of glacier than surge, which we have seen in some parts of Karakoram. There was a debate recently, and I can tell you, because of 2007 some anomaly, I think global attention has come to the cryosphere research, as well as regional member countries, India, China, and others are very much looking climate change. So there was a problem, a thing which came, but I think there was an opportunity very much, and it has really brought a good motive of the regional member countries to cooperate. Very interestingly, I think most importantly is the capacity here, mass balance. We have been talking and doing work on using GIS. I think mass balance is equally important, and we have started working on mass balance. So, very good example, what happens in the cryosphere and how it is related. If you see, the Tibetan plateau pastures now are being converted into agriculture because of higher temperature, which is the whole land use system used to be only pastoralism, now it is agro-pastoralism. So this is a change that you see. Many of the wetlands in high altitude areas are already drying, and they are becoming a grazing land in winter. So this is also a very important area. You can see in this slide here, see this is glacier retreat is taking place. This glacier is actually going back, and water is discharged, and those lakes which are linked with the glacier, the lake is actually expanding. That situation is also seen. But that is a very temporary arrangement. In future, when the glaciers are gone, these lakes will also shrink and become a dry land. So this is what we see. Another topic which came very clearly this morning by Dr. David Morton is the black carbon. It's a topic which is very, very relevant for the region, and we need to work, and we have started working on this very much. There is an energy related to this, but more importantly, I think immediate effect is impact on the high altitude areas where these black carbon are deposited and the glaciers are melting. This is one thing, and the pollution is also another important thing. When we talk about the climate change, we should not forget about the human health. So this is something which is very important. There is an impact very clearly, temperature related illness and death, extreme weather related human health effects, air pollution related health effects, food related nutrition effects, water and foodborne diseases, vector and rodent-borne diseases are also seen. Now you can see mosquito in very high altitude area, almost in 8,000, 9,000 feet you are getting mosquitoes. That clearly shows that there is a change. A very good study again which came in our this climate change book is if there is a change of 1 degree Celsius, see the whole area of oak is likely to lose the ground and habitat, and then we will lose this very, very socially important and very valuable important species. This is the indication that we like to give. So if there is a climate change, whole forest structures, important species are also likely to be, and even some of the species will change their range. They will move upwards, and we have to provide opportunities for them to adapt. So one of the studies that we did, very much focusing on the Eastern Himalayan region, this is the summarization of that study here. Very clearly we have seen impacts of climate change are in higher areas, but if you really calculate and see the vulnerabilities, it's the lower foothills and lower areas which are more vulnerable. There are more people, flash floods and other floods are coming here, so the impact is very, very high. So we need to work on the mountains, but I think vulnerability will decrease in the lower areas. Now, last part of my presentation is on adaptation. What we are doing, what are the responses that we are doing, and my response would be more on regional nature, not very much on national. I expect that our partners in the national countries will take it further at the local level. One of the response is that we need to have a good data and information. Without that, we cannot meet the challenge of climate change. For that, after 2007 IPCC report, ICIMOD organized a global meeting on biodiversity in Kathmandu in 2008, and based on that, Professor Bruno Messerli, who is a person who has actually worked the mountain cause globally, proposed a transact approach, north-south transact, and then 7 transboundary landscape approach to have a representation of this region in the context of global discussion. This will provide, if we are generating data in this level, then it will definitely help in the representation of all ecoregions, all types of ecological zones, and especially the transboundary landscape, which are number 1, 2, like this. We have Wakhan Corridor, Karakoram, this is Kailas, then Everest, Kanchenjunga, Brahmaputra Salween, and this is Stockholm Hill Tracts and Cherrapunji. So by this, we try to cover various transboundary landscapes and try to also get the elevations. And equally important are the river basins. These 2 approaches have been taken to fill the data gap and to have systematic data so that can be used by national governments as well as regional level for informed decision making. River basin management is very, very important in terms of future. So we are working on a river basin approach, which is, if you take example of Indus, then we have India, China, then Pakistan, very much, and some part of Afghanistan. So cooperating at that level. Then another example is Kosi, which we are starting to work. China, Nepal, and India. You have must have heard 2008 floods, which caused so much a problem in Bihar because of Kosi. Another aspect is the landscape approach that we are following. I'd like to give you an example of China, India, Nepal, Kailas landscape. 3 countries are cooperating to actually manage this 31,000 square kilometer area. Interestingly, in the context of climate change, this landscape is so important. From here, 4 major rivers are originating. Brahmaputra, it originates here and goes almost 1500 kilometers east and goes down to Assam. Indus also originates here near Mansarovar, and it goes west and almost 1000 kilometers and goes down to Pakistan. Then we have Satluj and Karnali. Satluj goes and meets in Indus, and Karnali meets in Ganga River. So if you manage the 31,000 square kilometer, you are actually managing 4 major headwaters of these river basins. So it's very, very critical and important. This is how the cooperation has come, and I am very happy to tell you now this landscape has been endorsed by all these governments, and cooperation has started very much in this landscape. Another landscape which is very important, and this is where we are in Gangtok, and this is Kanchenjunga landscape. Nepal, India, and Bhutan are collaborating here. We have done lots of studies in the past, and we know there are 14 protected areas. The importance of this landscape is that these protected areas are isolated. They are not connected. In the context of climate change, what happens is that when the species have to march or the rain shifts, then there needs connectivity corridors. And actually this program will provide that connectivity, and species will survive, and people in these corridors will also have to adjust and adapt to the change that is taking place. And I'm very happy to tell you now Government of India has given a clearance to work very much on this landscape, and we are starting a program to cooperation here, and maybe next month we'll meet again in Gangtok, very specific people working on this from 3 countries. Now, another very important program which is going to help all the countries in the future in terms of climate change adaptation is Himalayan Climate Change Adaptation Program that we have developed. And this is a unique program. What we have done is that river basin approach is one, and also landscape approach we have taken. But here we have tried to go from east to west and have taken sub-basins, and based on that we are trying to come on adaptation. Very interestingly, adaptation to climate change is human adaptation, but that cannot be done without other aspects. So we are taking into consideration the modeling, water availability and water demand in particular sub-basins, ecosystem services, food security. These are the areas in which we are concentrating, and gender segregated approach for our adaptation. At the ground level, we need to really bring what can be done so that the people can really adapt to. I would like to give you one example, 2-liter water situation. So in that, what needs to be done? Very clearly, we have to increase the water availability, and there are many technologies that have been actually tried by ICIMOD and its partners, and they are available. Hydro, there are many of them, even that can be linked with livelihoods here. But another important thing, which was also mentioned by other speakers in the morning, is how we can really improve the water use efficiency, how optimize that use. Drip irrigation, sprinkle irrigation, pitch irrigation, the system of rice intensification. There are many good examples. I think these examples have to be used, and they are really can be used for making adaptation possible on the ground. Now, this was also brought in the morning, the CDM, and now RED Plus is coming. So RED Plus is actually talking about the carbon financing possibilities from the carbon sequestration that is possible. ICIMOD is talking little beyond than RED Plus, because for the mountains, RED Plus alone will not help. We are talking about RED Plus Plus, which is much more than just carbon sequestration by forests. So here we have actually identified 5 different land use systems here, and you can see rangelands, very much afforestation, reforestation, vegetation, then agricultural land management system, improved forest management, avoided on-land deforestation, avoided forest degradation. All these, if you see, and then we have actually seen the potential of the countries, all the 8 countries in each of these, and very clearly we see which country stands where in terms of carbon financing in future. But that alone will not help. Then we had to go in depth. So for that we have done a pilot, RED Plus piloting in Nepal, and very clearly I can tell you it's a very good system where communities can be involved, and communities themselves can assess the carbon. And I am very glad to tell you that already financing mechanism as demonstration has been started in 3 watersheds in Nepal through ICIMOD and partners. So this is a very good example. But for other land use also we started to do in-depth study. In China we have used, taken the example of rangelands, and in India, in Tripura, shifting cultivation as a topic to really see the potentialities of RED Plus in these areas. So this is an emerging area. I think we have to make this, we have to study and come out with interesting possibilities. But there is lots of negotiation and other instruments that need to be also followed. From ICIMOD point of view, we want to make the information and the possibilities and mechanism demonstrated and available so that the member countries can make best use of that. Last slide of my presentation, very much in terms of national initiatives. In case of India and China, in 2008, they have come with their climate change action plan. India has one, and you have 8 missions. Himalayan mission is one of the missions out of that. So very clearly there is a purpose at national level, and there is also state level missions which are coming up. So there is a will and there is a process, there is an institutional mechanism that has started. So this is very, very interesting. And in case of other countries of the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, they are developing National Adaptation Program of Action, which is called NAPA, which are national documents. There also lots of local practices and adaptation mechanisms are to be shared, and between countries this is a very, very important. But we need to go further. Nepal has gone a step further, and they have gone to a local adaptation program of action, and that's very, very interesting. I think the member countries could learn from that. There are many adaptation piloting from ICIMOD, and one of the things that I'd like to mention here is the work that we are doing for ADB investment is on 6 value chains. Big program coming, and in that the climate proofing and ensuring the supply of the ecosystem services for these 6 value chains. So climate proofing is another new area where we have concentrated, and from ICIMOD's experience we have come to a very interesting study and interesting result which we are already demonstrating. Another very important aspect for future adaptation piloting is the work that we are doing with IFAD, vulnerabilities of communities and and with IFAD sites in India, Nepal, and in Bhutan, we have been able to really do the community vulnerability analysis, and that is going to be really helpful, not only for the IFAD sites, but as a whole for the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region in terms of adaptation learning. Lastly, I think there are many specific institutions that needs to be developed in terms of adaptation, and for research, for glaciology, India is already establishing, but for other things, I think this is a very important point, and we need to think. And when I say institution, the last thing I would like to say is IMI is also an institution which is evolving, which would cater to the needs of mountains, and I hope they will keep climate change in the agenda or the mandate of IMI. Thank you very much.